treat social media as your job and take it seriously when you're on there, and you are not a consumer, you're a creator. And then what I would say is every notification on social media is now an opportunity, not just a thing to make you feel good. So every like, comment, friend request, share, whatever it is, it's an opportunity to connect with a prospect and move them towards a sale.
We've all got a presence on social media. However, if you're running a business, some people leverage their presence a little bit better than other people. You know what I mean? Some people spend a lot of time on social media. They waste a lot of time on social media. Other people are really good at building an audience and getting that audience off social media and into their business. And that's what we're going to talk about today. With me right now is Jason Fox. He's the founder of 4Step Consulting. He's an expert in client acquisition. If you want to acquire clients, he's your guy. Also, as a fun fact, Jason, is it true that you played professional soccer for England?
Not for England, in England.
In England. That would be cool if it was for England, like the English
For
team.
Australia, in Dubai, but not for England, no.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
When was the last time you played soccer professionally?
Like, I don't know, 10 years ago.
10 years ago. Well, a fun fact with no legs. Let's talk about social media instead. So a little bit earlier, we were talking about 3 things that our audiences probably want to get right if they want to get their fans and followers off social media. You dropped 3 words. What were those words?
Content, connection, and conversion.
All right, well, let's start with the big mistakes. The big mistakes. You deal with people all the time. You've got a very vast network of customers and clients. I also see you myself on social media all the time. I love following Jason on TikTok. I'm sure you're all over the place as well, but TikTok is where I see you the most. What are some of the mistakes if we're assuming that I'm a business owner and I'm using social media for my business?
Yeah. So I mean, there's a lot, but one of the biggest ones that I'm seeing people make, like mistakes that they make, is that there's this concept that was introduced. I don't know if it was like Gary Vee or someone. They said, like, you've got to produce value, right? And that concept is so broad and so complex, is that it's led people to just go out there and spurt off crap that they just don't know what they're talking about, or give like here's the how-to and step-by-step process, when in reality that value content isn't actually serving the people reading it, because they're consuming that passively. They're not invested. We all know the saying, like, people have to pay attention, so they're not actually invested. So they might comment, "This is so valuable," or "Thank you so much," but then they don't actually go out and reach out to you. The problem that a lot of people see is like these big influencers and all of this. And what is the thing when people go up to these big influencers in, in these conferences or whatever, they don't just say value. They say, "You changed my life," or "You changed my mindset," or "You changed the way that I look at things." And that's because these guys keep saying produce value, but they don't realize that they're actually producing perspective shifting content. A good example of this is, well, it's kind of controversial, but the Andrew Tate. Have you been seeing his content?
Yeah, I'm not a fan, but you know what?
Yeah.
You can learn all sorts of stuff from the most unusual places. I mean, like, you could learn leadership lessons from Hitler if you really wanted to. So I can say that, well, I'm not a fan of Hitler. I don't think many people are.
Yep.
I'm also not much of a fan of Andrew Tate. However, that hasn't stopped me looking at some of the ways that the methods he used to build his massive following.
Yeah, see, I'm like so curious about this stuff when any person like pops up, especially the way he did it. It was so fast and so strong, and he really weaponized his followers in a way by changing the way people think. Like, these young men think a certain way, and then he's changing that perspective to think this way. And then he's also weaponizing it with these I guess it's not propaganda, but you can kind of look at it in a way, is the right-wing theories and stuff like that. So he's weaponizing it and getting that following and changing that perspective. These guys, and it's funny that they all talk about like everyone's a puppet, but then like if Andrew Tate said like
he's the puppet master.
lick the concrete, they would all lick the concrete. And I think that that's kind of the best example of it. And no disrespect to anyone either way, but like it's changing people's perspectives and then kind of weaponizing that and going down that direction.
So to bring us back to what you said one of the mistakes is everybody's in this they're trying to produce value, and that sounds like a really noble thing, right? But what they're doing is they're just adding more content to the noise, where the people that are really crushing it are producing perspective shifting content. Now, I've also got a problem with this idea of people saying deliver value. And the reason why is that I also see it as a barrier. There are people that don't produce content because they're so obsessed that it needs to be so amazing. We have a saying for some people that come into our world, they're producing an ebook or something like that. And we'll say, this is not your magnum opus. This is not something that people are going to talk about at your funeral, right? This is your way to get out there. So I can see there's this spectrum when it comes to value. We don't want it to be that bullshitty adding to the noise stuff. We don't want people to get too precious, but it sounds like this middle ground is perspective shifting content.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that one of the best things that Gary Vee, for example, did is he invented the saying like document, don't create, right? And I think that that's such a good way to do things, is because often, especially in the space that we're in, is that what you are teaching, and if you're an expert-based business, is you're teaching what you've probably already overcome, whether it be a year ago, 2 years ago, 5 years ago. So instead of creating content around like value, how do you do X, Y, Z, why don't you create content around the problem that you solved when you were at 5K a month, or the problem you solved at 10K a month? So the people at that level will be like, oh, wow, like that's the problem he ran into. I'm running into that now. He solved it. Maybe he's the person to help me solve it on a more intimate level.
Hot tip, when you are creating that type of content, try and frame what you're producing with the words how to. And I say this because when I was running a magazine, there was a guy called Tim, and he came to me and he said, I want you to write an article about my business. It's about subscription underpants. And I went, that's hilarious. We'll write a story about your business subscription underpants. And it got about 24 hours worth of interest and traction. So then he came back and he said, oh, I want more media. What do I need to do? And I said, I don't know. You're clever. You think of something. And he came up with a stunt where he got all these people on the train to take off their pants, and they filmed it, right? That got about 5 days worth of coverage. Came back, James, what else can I do? And I said, what's something that you've done that's remarkable, worthy of being remarked about? And he wrote an article called How to Not Get Ripped Off by Spreets, which is like Groupon or Deal of the Day. It's one of those sites. How to Not Get Ripped Off by Spreets. And it was based on his experience. It told the story. That was about 10 years ago. And that article still gets traffic on our website. Extreme longevity, because that was a story from his time where he shared an experience where he taught what he knows. And I'm sure it was also perspective shifting content too. So you said content, connect, convert. Is that correct?
Connection. Yeah. Well, just onto that point is like the how-to content is great, but even as like one person or expert-based business, how I content is even better, because then you aren't, because a lot of people also speak at their audience rather than to their audience, claiming that they're the expert and like how you need to do this and how this. If you frame it as how I need to do it, it actually humanizes you. And that is like going to relate to your clients better, because they're going to be like, wow, he dealt with this. He knows how to go through it. So how I is even better, especially in the earlier stage. How to is like further along, like what he went through, but how I is even a better perspective shifter.
And it's also a lot easier.
It's so much easier to write with that frame.
Yeah,
so
there's not many runs on the board as well. So we rotate. So we have an email at least once a week, which is a story-based email. And it's either telling a story of us or it's telling a story of one of our clients. We bounce between the two. So content. Any tips and advice around this idea about content? I know we've just talked all about this perspective shifting content, how I did something, teach what you know. Are there any particular formats or channels that you're aware of that are working right now? Or is it just...
Yeah. So in terms of formats, like I find that obviously short form content is growing. Short form video is big. I find it is a big undertaking if you wanted to produce a crap load of those and like get it distributed with the editing and the captions and all of that. We were paying an editor and it still felt like a lot of work. So we actually slowed it down a little bit on that. And you probably see me less on TikTok and more so moved to like long form writing and carousels on Instagram. And that content works a lot better because you can take the time to actually write out your points. It just depends for the personality. Like me, I'm very good on video, like naturally can, whip up a video in seconds, but I also like writing and I feel I can convey my points better. So Instagram carousels has been a really big one for us.
One that you might want to try is not my wheelhouse. So for me, as you said, it's pick the format and the channel that's going to work for you, because you could go, I'm going to choose this one because I've heard it works the best. And if it doesn't match your personality, you're never going to do it. But this guy, Stepan Hinker, I interviewed him for the summit and for our B2B Scale Summit. And he talked about Twitter threads. So if you're doing carousels
I actually jumped on Twitter the other
Instagram,
day.
that might convey well to that. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
Content. So this is like a way of opening the door. I mean, like a lot of our clients say, I just need to get my foot in the door. I love the idea of content because what you're doing is you're not shoving your foot in somebody else's door. You're creating an open door, and they can see it and they can duck their head in and go, oh yeah, I'm interested in you. They can give you a like, they can leave you a comment, that type of stuff. It's an interesting way to open a relationship. But the next piece of the puzzle after content, you've got connect. What did you mean by that?
So like everyone focuses on the content. It's the hot thing. It's the short forms, the TikToks, this and that. And what people often overlook is like, oh, I only got 500 views and I only got 100 likes or 50 likes. If you put 100 people in like this room would be full. It's a small room. Like if you think about that, that's 100 humans, right? And so many people just don't think of that and they just think of the numbers. So for me, it's really about connecting with your audience who have already shown an interest in your business and already resonate with what you're talking about. So whether that's people following you, connecting with them, whether that's people engaging with your content, connecting with them, because they've already had that initial touch point. So it's a warm outreach rather than just going cold to people who don't know you at all.
We have this fun little analogy, right? Where if you're at the sink and you're washing the dishes and the tap's dripping, it's driving you nuts. You're trying to wash the dishes and the tap keeps dripping. And then suddenly through your back window, as you wash the dishes, you see someone moving around in your back garden. You go, oh, that's that in my backyard. And then you look up and it's a plumber. There's this moment where you go, what the hell's that guy doing in my back garden? I wonder if he can come in and fix the tap. And this is one of the first reasons why I became attracted to your content, Jason. You don't know this. You've been part of my world on social media for a long time. But there was this one moment where you were talking about you don't need a lot of volume on social media. You just need a small number of people that are the right fit. And if you're talking about people's headaches, obstacles, aspirations, and desires, more specifically, if you're talking about the headaches, the obstacles, aspirations, and desires of your target audience, and then you pop in to their DMs or their feeds or whatever, and you say, hi, you're like the plumber in the back garden. There's this moment where they go, who's this person that just popped into my back garden? Oh, I wonder if Jason will come in and help me fix the tap.
Yep.
And it doesn't have to be tens of thousands of followers. And I can tell everyone from a high degree of experience is that if you accidentally, and I've done this, if I accidentally grow too big above and beyond my target audience, all my funnels and all my mechanisms for getting clients go to mush because I'm suddenly attracting the wrong type of people. And there's this amazing bit of noise. I would much prefer 100 people coming into my funnel that are an exact fit person and I end up booking a meeting with a third of them and end up, having a great conversation with 25 of them and having, half of them become my client, then trying to do what Gary Vee does and have this constant bombardment, I don't even know the words, cacophony of noise coming at me all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I just think that like a lot of those guys, the bigger guys in the space have like poor monetization models, is that they don't have good ways to actually convert people from not knowing them to a client. So they need the volume. And then I'm saying Gary's fantastic at what he does, but like a lot of those guys need the volume because they aren't good at converting. Whereas we can make great money with 1,000 followers. Right. It's just about like really having the right people. And also like there's a lot less pressure. You don't have to walk down the street and worry if someone's going to stop you, and you can be making the money that you want. I like this model. I think that I'm not saying don't grow, and we definitely are trying to grow our following. Like that's obviously important, but it can be done with a couple hundred followers.
Yeah. You can go a long way with a couple hundred followers. You can go a long way with social media presence, lead capture gateway using something like Dash, a mini funnel. You don't even need a website. And it's often a great way to refine your message as well too. So content, connect. When you say connect, are you talking about the idea of getting people to hit the like and hit the follow and that type of stuff? Or are you talking about actively going out and talking to people via DM and other things?
I like it's like outbound, inbound. It's like you have outbound in terms of reaching out to these people because they haven't spoken to you, but it's really inbound because they've liked and engaged with your content.
Yep.
So it's like a warm outreach. And that's where it's the connection. It's like understanding, like we like to progress people because they're in that like probably lukewarm stage. A lot of people go like cold to try to pitch them, whereas we progress them from lukewarm to warm. Hey, here's another training. Here's what you can have a look at. Okay, what is your pains and problems? Let's chat about that. And then we can move to the conversion stage. So it really is flowing through that process and turning them from like warm to hot and ready to buy from you.
Well, before we dive into the conversion bit, and I am very interested in that because I can see that you got Alex Hormozi's book on over your shoulder, and I'm always interested in someone's perspectives on offers and conversions when I see that. But also, I know that you've got a selling by chat DM script. Can I put you on the spot and say, anyone that's listening to this or watching this on YouTube, can we grab your link for that and make that possible to anyone watching or listening to this?
Yeah, we can. I just don't have on the spot.
That's all right. We can get it. We can add it later. But I know that Jason's got a selling by chat DM script. And we just had this analogy a moment ago about a plumber suddenly turning up in your back garden. And there's two ways that can go. They're invited inside, or you call the police. And if you've got Jason's selling chat DM script, they're more likely to invite you inside than call the social media police.
Exactly. Yeah.
Content, connect. Let's talk about this conversion piece. Where do you want to go with that?
So conversion, and now it's the case of like, we're not turning this thing from, them liking something to like pitching. We're warming them up till we get to the point where a conversion seems possible. And for us, it is a booked call for most of our offers. Sometimes it's, selling straight by chat there for price, like offers under like 2K. I think it's appropriate to go sell by chat. The conversion piece for us is really about getting to that pain of what they're struggling with or what they really need help with. And then instead, most people just go, hey, like, I don't have leads. Okay, not having leads is a problem, but like, how long has it been going on for? 6 months. What's the financial impact? We're not making much money. What about personally? Oh, I can't spend time with my family. Now that's an actual pain that we can work with and solve rather than leads. And so that's where it's like connecting, like the connection piece is so important, is because no one's going to take action if they can't get leads. But if that's been going on for 6 months, it's causing them financial troubles and they can't spend time with their family, they're going to take action, right? So for us, it's really about connecting and converting to a place where they get that pain level free.
Are you doing that through having conversations on social media, or are you, that's just like chatty back and forth?
Chat back and forth, yeah, in DMs.
Yeah, right, okay. Because in our world, I don't think we've got anyone that's got that skill, this is where you tell me it's a skill that you don't got, it's a skill that you acquire and learn.
Yeah.
We get, I mean, like our goal is usually trying to get someone to book a call. At what point does that happen in your chat?
Yeah, so it doesn't always need to go to that point, right? Like it doesn't, but it's just a much easier call because some people will just jump the gun and say like, hey, I have a problem with leads. And they're like, hey, book a call with me. Well, they said they have a problem with leads, but like we don't know much about that. They're not very qualified. So for us, if we wanted to, we could book 150 calls a month, but what's the point if they're all unqualified? And we've done that before. We'd rather book 40 to 50 where they're extremely qualified. So yeah, it might take us a little bit longer, but it's much easier for us. So yeah, call is the goal. And we can do that in 4 messages, 3 messages, or 10 to 15. It just depends on the context. And I think that the script that, I'll give away is a framework as well for what you need to do and where you need to take the conversation more than anything.
It all begins at the top, because if you've got highly targeted content, perspective shifting content that attracts the right type of people, you're going to have conversations with the right type of people because they're clearly responding to the scenarios you're talking about. Then if you're going to have a little bit of this back and forth, that's a great way to pre-qualify the lead so that that you're not talking with anyone. They also become more aware of their pain. Something interesting that you said was you threw out a $2,000 figure. Now, it's interesting that you say that. It seems to me at this moment, the intersection between requiring a conversation and not requiring a conversation, in our experience, is actually $1,600, which is very close to $2,000, $1,600 USD. So, a lot of our Australian people, that might be 2,200, New Zealand, 2,400, Canada, 2,000 and something. I got no idea what that is in euro or pounds at this point in time. But however, if it's less than that, you shouldn't really need a conversation. Now, you are great at helping people acquire clients. If it's less than that $2,000 mark and it doesn't require a conversation, what are the mechanisms or steps that you use to get people across the line?
Yeah, so one of them is getting further towards pain. So understanding that there's actually a need for this. And then going, well, would you be open to some help with this? And then when they say yes, cool, I've got like a 5-minute Loom video or overview of what we do. Would you like me to send it? And then you send it. You're always getting permission because more permission is more buy-in. So then send that over, and I just keep it very casual. It's me in a Google Doc explaining things. This is what we're going to do. If you want in, send me a message and let's roll.
Yeah, the reason why I asked that is the same reason that I said, Gary Vee says produce valuable content, and then everybody tries to create war and peace. It's amazing how many times I meet with someone and I go, can you give me a lead magnet that I can give to our audience to support you? And they say, oh, I created a 10-step course because somebody told me to create a 10-step course. And I was just, why? It's the same deal again. It's, you want to sell a client. So what we're going to do is we're going to, a client for under $2,000 or under $1,600, they go, oh, I'll book a meeting. I just don't think it's economically sustainable to do that unless you've got a really bedded down system. And they overcomplicate it. But I've seen this again and again, and I'm glad you said it. You could shoot a 5-minute Loom video talking about your process. And it's not talking about how you can help them. It's talking about your process, because then everybody feels very reassured. This person has a process. The other piece that you said is a Google Doc. And I've seen this a couple of times now. It's a 1 or 2 page, sometimes a 3-page Google Doc that just breaks down what the person is, the process, and what the person's going to get. How easy is that?
Yeah, so easy. And I think that one of the reasons it's successful is because it's real, man. Like everyone's over this flashy red underline, this is what the value is and this is the actual price. Like everyone is over that stuff. Like, let's just be real with each other and let's focus on like practicality. All of my course content, if you will, in our programs that are 10K plus, it's filmed on Google Docs. I used to do slides, used to do 1.5-hour slide presentations, and God, like I can't imagine doing that now. Give them the information, get them to implement. that's the whole goal of everything. And that's the same right here is you don't need something flashy. Just send them the goods.
So we've got long form landing pages. We do 1.5 hour long webinars and all this other stuff, but our business is different to most of the people's out there. You know, we've got a scale model rather than a consulting or a training,
for sure.
Yeah, you know, model. So we can do that. But the thought or idea that I just got, and I love doing this because I always, you know, listen to people and I come up with it. Well, they come up with an idea or they say something, is that we've got a long form landing page selling a $27 product. And it's exactly what you said. It ticks all the boxes. You know, it's direct mail one-on-one. There's like, you know, there's a
nothing against it. Like I love it. I'd create those.
There's all this stuff, right? It converts really, really well. But anyway, just imagining for a second, if someone like, if we say, hey, would you like this? And they click on a Google Doc and it tells the same story, but a lot less, more simple and humble. And then at the bottom, there's a button that they can click to buy it. I think that would actually convert better because I think people would go, oh yeah, I want that outcome. I'm going to open up the Google Doc to find out how I can get that outcome, specifically what the price is. That's what everybody wants to know. You know, if I'm interested, we call them VIPs, very interested prospects. If I'm interested, I'll look into it. And then they get to the bottom, and if it's under $2,000 or under $1,600, or this particular product's $27, they just go,
yeah. I mean, I know someone selling something for 20 grand off a Google Doc.
Yeah. There you go.
It's possible.
Yeah. I remember when I first sold a $10,000 product over the phone, I thought that was insane, you know?
Yeah.
But however, if you've got a clear and targeted offer, that makes life a little bit easier. And I will say one of Jason's superpowers is helping you refine your offer so that it's not this big, overwhelming, clunky something that is something different for everyone. You know, we call it black art quoting. You meet someone and you say, what's your problem? And they tell you. No, you meet someone and they say, here's what I need. And you listen and diligently take notes. And then you go away and pull together a proposal and then you give it to them and you never hear from them again. Stop. Jason says, here are 3 options for you. And the middle one's the most likely. What are you going to do?
So I actually think the concept in theory is good, is because you want to give people what they want, like, right? Like, you know, give them what they want, like sell them what they want and give them what they need. And that concept's like noble. I get it. Going away, customizing it feels better. But you can customize within the framework so everyone is getting the same thing. You just choose to focus on something. So for us, we have like 4 steps in our fulfillment. It's offer, client acquisition system, sales ecosystem, and scale, right? And so people come in and they have a problem with their offer, problem with client acquisition, but the other 2 things they're not ready for. So we focus on the first 2. That's what we do to start. And then these other 2 as the next thing. Rather than customizing a package, they're still having to pay the 10 grand, but they're getting just the first 2 as a focus point because we're solving the problem still. Your offer should encapsulate all of the pains and problems that your clients are going through. And then your pillars or whatever it is can solve different pain points for different people, because everyone thinks they have a different business when in reality, everyone has a very similar business. There's not too much new under the sun. It's just different personalities and different focus points.
Yeah. It's so fun. It's so funny that we run through all this we have conversations with people all the time around this. And you said it feels like the noble route to go out and pull together over a different proposal and everything. I'll tell you what the noble route is. The noble route is getting really good at something and then being able to deliver that something to as many people as possible, rather than helping a small handful of clients that you've got, helping many. And that can only happen when you distill down what it is that you do into a process or a system. And that simply means that everybody gets the same thing. It can be slightly tweaked and refined for every different audience. But here's the other crazy thing. You end up with this consistent experience, which means that you can improve the experience, which means everyone gets a better experience. And here's the final crazy bit. It takes you less time because you're not reinventing the wheel with every client.
Yep. It becomes a flywheel. Every new client is getting better rather than like you having to run around like a headless chicken.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, let's recap. Content, what was it? Content, connect, and convert. These are three things we want to do right if we want to get more out of social media. The message for me, I think, is we build an audience, then we need to engage with that audience. And then this is the last bit. We need to get them off social media into our business and into our lives. Because if people are using social media for business, I think that they just forget this piece. I think it's all about the fans and the followers, and they forget that their end goal is to get their customers and clients off social media. So any final words of advice for our people?
So the one thing that I actually really like, and it's such a subtle cue, is that look at social media, and I say this for Facebook specifically, but look at social media as your job, right? So every person posting, if what's the service of you reading that post? Is it just for entertainment? Or if you comment, they now see you, you're now a prospect, you're they're visual and they're seeing your face and they're clicking on and seeing your stuff. Just like exactly actually how we got this podcast finally freaking booked. Your message got buried and you commented on something. It's the exact scenario. Treat social media as your job and take it seriously when you're on there, and you are not a consumer, you're a creator. And then what I would say is every notification on social media is now an opportunity, not just a thing to make you feel good. So every like, comment, friend request, share, whatever it is, it's an opportunity to connect with a prospect and move them towards a sale.
Every single one of those persons is someone raising their hand saying, I like you and I'd like to get to know you a little bit better. And if someone came up to you at a networking event and said that, you would immediately embrace that opportunity and start a conversation. It is absolutely the same online.
Exactly.
Thank you, Jason. This has been awesome. Thanks for your time.
Of course, man. I appreciate it. This has been great.